Christian Shreve, back with you. Advice to a young fighter. And this is about contracts and attorneys. Now, if you aren't the fighter yourself, if you're a family member of the fighter, if you want to represent fighters in the future, if you're a fighter already in your career and you want to take control and haven't put the pieces in place previously, this is all going to be of interest to you. You know, one person in one clip chose to address this issue, and that is Kenny Weldon, the legendary Texas trainer. We have his program, and if you're a boxer, kickboxer, MMA practitioner looking to turn pro, or have someone that you're close to is looking, if you haven't bought that series, you have a hole. You don't have the system. Now, if you grew up, if you're an Olympian, if you were part of the Cuban team or an international team, then you have these background pieces around you. And if not, if you don't get the You Can Learn to Box series, you have a hole. You have a hole. And if you love a fighter representing a fighter, they have a hole. They have a blind spot. Okay, so contracts. Now, when someone approaches you, and they're going to do so, if you're in the game for very long, they're looking to see if you're stupid. They're looking to see if you're foolish. They're looking to see if you're reckless. And they're going to test their boundaries the way a toddler will with you. Can I get away with this? Can I get away with that? Any fighter who doesn't say to anything they're supposed to sign, I don't care if it is a receipt to McDonald's, I'm going to have my attorney look at that. You don't even have to have an attorney at that point. You get it, you put it away. Now what you're looking for as a fighter is you're looking for somebody to question you. You don't trust me? It's not about it. If anybody behaves that way, they are playing you for the fool. They're conning you. We don't have that. This is... No business person thinks that way. They know fighters aren't trained in this. You know, if you were to go up to somebody who's just gotten out of college, and let's say they were a college athlete and they're getting ready to turn professional, and somebody said, I want you to sign this, or, you know, we have to make a little change, just a little change. And you're like, man, I want to impress this guy, you know, I want to keep things on good terms. This looks okay to me. This looks okay to me. I'm just going to sign it. Okay, you're done. Maybe that one was harmless, but it's a test. I'm going to give you an example. I have a slew of attorneys around me and in my family. There are two words when a court case is dismissed. This is just an example, and it's about it. And the word is prejudice. Now, if someone says, "This case is dismissed without prejudice," well, good. There shouldn't be prejudice. Okay, that's not what it means. If a judge says, "This is dismissed with prejudice," if it's dismissed with prejudice, it means that it already has it's already regarded a certain way and it can't be followed up on. If it says without prejudice, it means that, say, a prosecution can just reorganize it, repackage it, and come after somebody again. Well, if you don't know those little words, you just got ripped off, or you're going to get ripped off, or hurt, or abused. Just be the guy who smiles. Hey, you know what? And in an hour of watching these clips, you're going to know everything. You're going to know everything. So relax, but you're the guy who smiles and says, okay, you know, I'm going to look at, yeah, I understand, we're in a hurry and stuff like that. I'm going to have my person look at it and smile, and, you know, you be the kind of simple guy. If you need to be whatever you need to do, you always have an attorney look at things. And we're going to talk about these pieces, these component pieces, how they work together. But you're always looking for that. Now, some of the contracts that you're going to be asked to sign, Dana White with UFC is going to give you, if that's your game, about the worst contract you can imagine. And whenever somebody does, you have to understand that they never expect you to take the first offer. If you have a question on what negotiations are, pull up Pawn Stars. Pull up the cable show Pawn Stars, where, let's say I bring in an item. I have I have this gold medal here. I have this gold medal, and I bring it in, and to me it's the most valuable thing in the world. Let's say it's 150 years old. And they call in an expert and he verifies it. And let's say, you know, I'm looking to get some money out of this and I'm going to sell it. And the expert comes in and says, this is worth $1,000. Thank you very much. The expert leaves. Now it's the two people. The guy behind the counter says, now what do you want for it? You make me an offer is the correct response. But there's a little game that goes on. And if you don't know the game, then you have someone who knows it for you, or you're going to get back to them and you walk out and you get prepared and come back. You watch these guys get fleeced all the time. Well, he said it's worth $1,000. I want $1,000. No, I need to make my money on it. It's nice. I like it. It's going to sit in the store for a while. Has a limited amount of people who are interested in it. I'll give you $200 for it. 200? He just said 1,000. Yeah, and it could go for that. I don't know when. You know, it's costing me money out of pocket. I'm going to put cash in your pocket. I'll give you 300 for it. 300? No, I can't go below 8. 7, 6, 5. And it's going to end up somewhere there, and that person's going to walk out with some money going like this. Well, I thought. Okay, don't let that happen to you. You never sign anything. And if they look at you hurt, well, this is our... Everything is slanted their way in the contract. They expect you to come back and slant everything your way, and then you meet in the middle somewhere with an option to renegotiate based upon how your numbers are in the future. So never sign anything. You know, we're going to be covering how promoters view you. One of the things that the brilliant promoter Don King would do as a team owner with his stable of fighters is he would go to the black fighters and say, hey, the white man is not going to pay you, is not going to understand you. Now, probably the greatest promoter for fighters of the 20th century, not the most flamboyant, died way too soon. And his name was Dan Duva, and his fighters always got paid. Always got paid. And that's so unusual. That is so unusual. And he would tell these black guys, the black fighter needs to understand that the black man needs to take care of him, and he would use that as a hustle. He would use that as a hustle, and he would screw his fighters blind. Yes, they were black. Yes, they had a black guy representing them. Call it African American, Afro-American. I don't care. I don't care. But the important point is that he would screw them over. Religiously screw them over. Religiously. I'm going to give you an example that happens if you're not the type of guy who has somebody always do the contract. Okay, Nevada is a liquor town. Nevada is where most of the big boxing happens. They don't like marijuana. Marijuana makes people feel good about things and take less risks and kind of balance themselves. They go after that hard. They don't want that. In the 80s, there was a top heavyweight titleist, and he could have been the champion, named Tim Witherspoon. And Witherspoon got popped for having marijuana in his system. So they're sticking him against somebody as a substitute who he beat the previous year, named James Bone Crusher Smith. Now, Witherspoon had all the tools to beat this guy. But Don King knew he could take better control if Smith was in charge. Well, what does he do? Well, he understands that with the problems going on outside of the ring, and with the lack of controls built into Witherspoon's managerial system, which you're overcoming now, he stepped in the dressing room and said to Witherspoon, you're going to get 1/5 or 1/10 of what you're scheduled to get. He may not even have gotten that. And he went out with his mind all screwed up. He agreed to it because nobody was advising him. He wasn't listening to anyone who was helping him, and he got boxed in a corner, went out and got knocked out in the first round. He's dead broke. Sometimes he pawns his teeth to feed his family. Another thing, if you're a manager caring for a fighter, Sugar Ray Leonard and his great advisor Mike Trainer got the legendary boxing trainer Angelo Dundee before a fight and said, we want to renegotiate. Well, Dundee thought that the welfare of the fighters and the fight result were most important. He didn't say, hey, you know what, you know how I am, I'll have an attorney look at this. He went ahead and signed it. Now, he was getting millions and millions and millions of dollars per fight. And Leonard and Trainer were very happy because that saved them what they weren't going to have to pay anymore. So you never sign a contract. You smile, you say you'll have somebody look at it. I don't care if you don't have anybody to look at it yet. You always follow this. How often? 99% of the time? No, 100% of the time. If you don't, rest assured, later that day, there is someone sitting with their feet up in a little office, smoking a cigar with their little glass in their hand, and they are laughing at you. That's the way it is. More to come. Christian Shreve, bestboxingbets.com. I'm Christian Shreve, and I'm here to tell you about why I think you should own my new book, Money Boxing, which is on sale now. Money Boxing has something for everyone, whether or not you know anything about boxing. You're about to receive a backstage pass into a world of glamour, corruption, and intrigue. And you're going to learn about the system, which is the only thing the casinos have had to fear in a long time. You can own Money Boxing by clicking on the link below now. I think you'll like it.